bachelor's and master's degree in biotechnology and a B.Ed degree. Also a founder of a startup where I grow microgreens by vertical farming technology. Just a second, I'll just check this out. Okay, so this is live. Okay, so let's get started with the adrenal gland. So we'll study about the structural arrangement in adrenal gland, and along with that certain associated functions and the disorders. If there is hyposecretion, like very less secretion of this adrenal hormones are occurring, or if there are over secretion of this hormone is occurring, so we'll see the associated effects of this. So what exactly is adrenal gland, or basically endocrine gland will come to first. Okay, so any idea what exactly is endocrine gland? Any of you here? Hi. Yes. Why do we call it as an endocrine gland? Why not exocrine gland? So exocrine, when we mention, so there is a gland, and that gland is having a duct, that is a tube-like structure through which the secretion is done. Okay, so now this could be sweat gland, so this could be mammary gland, so this could even be tear gland. So any of this could be, which where we call this as a exocrine because there is a duct, and here we are calling it as a endocrine gland. So meaning of endocrine gland is what? It is a gland, it is a ductless gland, so there is no duct over here. So these are ductless glands where they are going to diffuse their content. So let's say this is a gland, so diffuse their content directly into the blood vessel. So this is the blood vessel, so through the blood vessel the diffusion of the hormone is going to occur, and it is going to reach the target organ, that is through the blood itself. So endocrine glands are such glands which secrete hormones. So hormone secretion occurs with the glands, and hormones are extremely important secretions. So why exactly they are required? For doing lots of activities in your body, so hormones are a must. Okay, so without hormones, so there are no changes. So without hormone there is no growth. Without hormone, so there is no synthesis of egg or the sperm in case of male body as well as female body. And other than that, so without hormone, again there is a particular absorption of water, let's say ADH. So without hormone, so there is no milk production. Without hormone there is no delivery also. So basically when we mention for all the function, yes, endocrine system is required, so it is a must. So same way with respect to insulin also. So without insulin hormone, so there is no blood regulation, blood glucose level regulation. Okay, so glucagon is there, again that is to break down the level of the stored glycogen into glucose. So basically whatever function is occurring, so for everything the hormones are required. So without hormone no function is gonna occur. So the full set of endocrine glands in the body include numerous glands. So here you will be studying only few in this chapter, but in today's session I will be discussing only about the adrenal gland. Okay, so let's have a look at what exactly is this adrenal gland. So 1 second. Okay. Alright, so moving on to this adrenal gland. So adrenal glands are like caps. So you see this cap. So this is actually the cap like structure. Okay, so this is now a cap, right? So maybe I can change it a different color so that you can differentiate, because already this gland, kidney what they have given, so it is already red in color. So this cap like structure you see here. Okay, so this cap like structure is nothing but the adrenal gland, and this adrenal gland itself they have shown here. So you can see the outer region is the cortex region there. Okay, and the center region, so the inner region is basically the medulla. So cortex is going to synthesize some corticoid hormones, so that is this part. Let me just highlight it. Okay, and you see this part now. Okay, so this part what you see here, so this is basically the cortex region. Okay, and this cortex region is responsible for synthesis of some corticoid hormones. So now when we mention about this medulla region, so now in the center what you see, so this is basically the medulla region, and the medulla region is responsible for adrenaline hormone secretion. So then what does the cortex do? So cortex is responsible for corticoid hormone secretion, and this thing what you see, so this is basically the adrenal gland, which is just like a cap on the kidney. Okay, so let's have a look at this, just a second. Okay, so now here the adrenal glands are like caps, so these are like caps above the kidney. So this is the location that you need to know, and each adrenal consists of two parts. So there is a central medulla part which is responsible for formation of adrenaline hormone, and there is a peripheral cortex, and this peripheral cortex is responsible for synthesis of corticoid hormones. So position of adrenal on kidney and its two parts in cross section which secrete respective hormones are the ones which are like, there are different hormones that are being synthesized. So moving on to this adrenal medulla part, so this is the center part, or the part which is there inside, responsible for adrenaline secretion. Okay, so adrenaline is being synthesized, which we also call as epinephrine and noradrenaline. So epinephrine or noradrenaline also can be called, or the adrenaline. So these are the alternate names which are mentioned, and yes, you need to know these alternative names mentioned here. Okay, so adrenaline is a hormone. Okay, so it is a hormone, right? Yes, is it a hormone or what is it? The adrenaline gland or the adrenaline hormone secreted. So adrenaline is basically a hormone which prepares the body to meet, so preparing the body to meet any emergency situation. So for example, fight, that is to face the danger. Okay, so let's say you are watching, maybe let's say you come across a tiger. Okay, so in that case you should have the energy to fight it off. Okay, or at least you should have energy to run away from it. To face the danger is basically the fighting, or for flight, to run away from it. So for both of the condition, energy is a must. Okay, so under such conditions, so adrenaline is released from your body, so there is extra energy and strength is provided to the body in that situation. So extra hormone released, so extra hormone is released into the blood at the time of emotional stress. So that is when excited, so when you are excited or when you are angry, so your adrenalines produce a lot of adrenaline. Okay, so the adrenal gland which is there on the kidney as a cap, okay, so this produces a lot of adrenaline, and with that adrenaline, so there is a gush of energy that comes, and there is a lot of strength you will be getting. So with that strength you can do lot of functions. Okay, so like, you are excited, you are angry, so you can feel that. So basically you are having much more strength when you are facing, like, when you are anxious, or we can say angry itself. So you can feel a lot of energy to, like, fight with the other or to scold someone. So that happens mainly because energy supply by the adrenaline hormone is done. So there are a lot of changes which are going to occur in the body once the adrenaline is released, and with that, so there is much more oxygen supply, much more nutrient supply is done. So then there is a respiration process, you can see, that is oxidation of glucose to release the ATP. So there is cellular cellular respiration process occurring. So lot of ATP is produced, lot of energy is produced. So the gland itself is stimulated by the nerve ending of the autonomic nervous system. So here who is going to stimulate, or how exactly the gland will understand that now I should release the energy. So how does that happen? So the gland itself is getting stimulated, that is by the nerve endings of the autonomic nervous system. So from autonomic nervous system, so you can find there are nerves emerging into lots of glands. So now here the adrenaline gland or adrenal gland when we mention, so this gets stimulated, so specifically the adrenal medulla part, so that the nerve endings which are there from the autonomic nervous system are going to send a stimulate or the stimulus, so that there is a production of adrenaline. So functions of adrenaline, we'll have a look at what exactly it does. So the emergency hormone, so we call this as a emergency hormone. So why do we call it as an emergency hormone? Any of you? Why is it called emergency hormone? So what exactly is the requirement? So we'll see this. So we call this an emergency hormone because whenever your body needs particular nutrients, oxygen, so let's say ATP itself, so all that production can occur under the influence of adrenaline. So here it increases heartbeat, okay, accompanied by an increase in the blood pressure. So the blood pressure also increases, there is a heartbeat also that will go on increasing. Okay, so then it increases blood supply to the muscle, okay, while decreasing it to the skin as well as visceral organ. Like any other organs are there, to all the other organs also you can see there is a reduced supply of blood which is done, but increased supply of blood is done where it is done to the muscles, because in the muscle only there is a requirement of ATP. So ATP production can be seen there upon oxidation of glucose, and hence there is lot of supply of these required nutrients is done. So more glucose is released into the blood, so that is by the liver, like putting more fuel to the engine. So the final dash to win a race is under the influence of adrenaline here. So here more glucose is released. Any idea why this glucose is required? Any of you? Why is there a requirement of glucose? Why is it required? No? No idea? Why this glucose is required? Okay, so we'll see this. So why exactly the glucose is required is, so upon oxidation, okay, so the glucose is going to get oxidized, so that means glucose will combine with the oxygen, and there is a waste product that is formed, so carbon dioxide and water, and what is produced? Energy is produced, and we call this hormone what? Emergency hormone. Okay, so since it is an emergency hormone, so there is a requirement. Since I had a course since I think almost now it is more than 3 weeks I guess, so you know my throat gets dried very easily, and that's the reason I keep water bottle with me every time I'm taking a class. Like I drink a lot of water now, because here I don't know what exactly is the reason why it is getting dried so much. Maybe because of no, maybe more water content might be required as such, or the bacterial growth, the viral growth. So yeah, the viral growth, it is specifically since I am having a cold. Okay, anyway, let's have a look at this. So more glucose is released into the blood by the liver. So here why exactly glucose is required? For cellular respiration. So let's have a look at this responses to adrenaline. Okay, so what exactly is the response when adrenaline is produced? So what happens to the heart? So let's consider only about the heart now. So whenever there is an adrenaline release, so the heart beats faster, the blood pressure also increases here. Okay, so biological advantage is what? Sending more glucose and oxygen to the muscle. So is the function associated with the adrenaline. And effect or sensation, so there is a thumping heart. So when you are excited, so you can find there is a thumping heart. And why exactly that happens? So that is because we have this supply, more supply of blood is being done, so the beating is faster and also the blood pressure is increasing, so you can find thumping heart. And other than that, so what exactly is being produced? So sending more glucose and oxygen to the muscles so that cellular respiration can occur. So now breathing center of the brain. So this is controlled by medulla oblongata. Okay, so medulla oblongata is the one which is having a breathing center, which makes faster and deeper breathing. Okay, and increased oxygenation of the blood, rapid removal of carbon dioxide. Okay, so there is a requirement of carbon dioxide removal which is to be done, and increased oxygenation, like so more supply of oxygen can be done to the blood, so that the oxygen goes and it will get utilized in the cellular respiration. So that is oxygenation, or we can say glucose is going to get oxidized to release the energy. So main thing is energy production, we can see with respect to that. And the effect or sensation, it is basically panting. Okay, just a second. Okay, so moving on to the other one. So this is about the arterioles of the skin. So what exactly is the condition associated with arterioles of the skin? So let's have a look at that. Before that, let me just change this highlighter color for each of these steps, in fact. Okay, so arterioles, when we mention, so arterioles of the skin, so these constrict them. So that is the effect of adrenaline is going to constrict, so that there is a less blood going to the skin, means more is available to the muscles. So if less blood goes to the muscles, I mean skin, so there is no requirement of activity as such. But if more blood goes to the muscles, so there is oxygen supply and glucose supply, and the muscular movement is possible. So that is with the help of the blood. So that is because glucose oxidation can be seen. So person is going to turn pale in this case. So you can't see otherwise with this other colors, no. So let me just go with the yellow itself, because I don't think I'm trying to highlight, but anyway you cannot see. So since it is very light. So arterioles of the digestive system, if we are talking about, so here they constrict them. Yes, less blood for the digestive system allows more to reach to the muscles. So and here dry mouth, you can see this dry mouth. So less blood supply is occurring to the skin there. Okay, and other than that, the arterioles of digestive system, when we mentioned, so they constrict, so less blood for the digestive systems allows more to reach to the muscles, so you can find a dry mouth there. So muscles of the body tenses them. Okay, so there is a contraction and relaxation, so ready for immediate action. So tense feeling, shivering, and here there could be no sensation as well. So this is associated with liver anyway. So you can find a tense feeling or shivering kind when the muscles of the body are contracting. So it is basically contracting, and you can find ready for immediate action. So then there is liver. So conversion of glycogen to glucose. So glucose available in the blood for energy production. So here there is no sensation as such. The fat deposit, so here the conversion of fats into fatty acid. So fatty acids available in the food for the muscle contraction. So for all this, the energy is used up. So in addition, adrenaline also increases clotting capacity of blood, dilates pupil of the eye, stimulates uterine contraction during labor, so this is about adrenaline, so delivery of baby. So then stimulates muscle of their hair follicles. Okay, so this is basically in general same as those of the sympathetic autonomic nervous system. So like they have given what exactly are the associated functions along with this. So you can just write clotting capacity of the blood, then dilation of the eye, so uterine contraction during the labor, so stimulating muscles of the hair follicle. Okay, so all this can be considered. So let's have a look at this one, the adrenal cortex. So we just saw about the adrenal medulla. So in cortex, what exactly happens? So that is the outside part. So adrenal cortex secretes many hormones. So there are many hormones that are secreted by the adrenal cortex, but the best known hormones is, or the hormones are cortisone, which suppress the inflammation. So inflammation suppression is done by the cortisone hormone. So the cortical hormones are categorized as mineralocorticoid. Then you can also find there are glucocorticoid. Okay, so what exactly is mineralocorticoid? So regulating the mineral metabolism, so specifically Na plus and potassium, so that is sodium and potassium ions are basically regulated. Okay, and that we call as mineralocorticoid. So then there are glucocorticoids, so regulate carbohydrate, protein and fat metabolism. So regulation of carbohydrate, protein and fat metabolism, so this is done by the glucocorticoids. Any doubt in this part? Like whatever processing has to occur with the minerals, all this metabolic activity, wherever this has to be used, so mineralocorticoids will make sure that these minerals are being used up in different metabolic contents. And same way glucocorticoids, so they regulate, like you consume carbohydrates, proteins through your food, fat also. Okay, and how the metabolism has to occur, so that regulation with respect to carbohydrate, protein and fat metabolism sorry, so the fat metabolism, so all these are under the control of glucocorticoids. So in general, the cortical hormones, when we mention, so they increase the blood glucose concentration, influence fat and protein metabolism, regulate salt and water balance in the body, so adapt your body to the stresses such as extreme heat or cold, burns, infection. So certain cortical hormones behave like sex hormones. Okay, so this is, they are both male as well as female hormones in both the sexes. So that is overgrowth of cortex in young children, so leads to premature sexual maturity. So you can find certain cortical hormones in male as well as in case of female, and that is adrenaline hormones. Okay, so you can find adrenal gland secreting adrenaline hormone. So here are some corticoids you can find. So an overgrowth of cortex in young children, so that itself leads to premature sexual maturity. Okay, you can see some associated conditions are mentioned here. So women with beard and men with breast. Okay, so if there is an overgrowth of adrenal cortex, so let's say if the adrenal cortex has grown a lot, okay, so that is not a normal one but the overgrowth. So in a mature woman, so this is in a mature woman, she develops certain male characteristics such as you can find beard, so you can also find mustache in them, and you can find deep male voice. So all these are the cases for women with the male features. So specifically the adrenal cortex part, so you can find beard, mustache as well as deep male voice. So this condition we call as adrenal virilism, so that is maleness. So if the overgrowth occurs in mature men, so this is associated with the mature men, so they may develop some feminine characteristics, so that is enlargement of the breast can be seen. This is in case of men, and this is for whom? So this one is basically for a women. So this is for a women. Okay, so there are associated functions. So now let's say hyposecretion from the adrenal cortex. So this is the cortex region that they are talking about. It leads to Addison's disease. Okay, so symptoms being loss of energy will be there, skin pigmentation can be seen, so then there is loss of weight, then you can also find nausea, so that is vomiting sensation. So hypoglycemia, very less blood sugar maintenance is done. So sensitivity to cold and pain. So all these are the associated functions, so that is sensitivity to cold and pain, and increased susceptibility to infections. Okay, so different kind of infections what you see, so this is also associated with the hyposecretion. So increased susceptibility to infection when we mention, so any pathogen that enters, so you basically are not resistant to them, so you get those disorders easily. Okay, so hypersecretion when we mention, so this is of adrenal cortex again, so here again they are mentioning about the cortex causing, so this is hypersecretion. Hypo is less secretion, hyper is over secretion is occurring. So hypersecretion of adrenal cortex causes Cushing syndrome, or Cushing syndrome also some do pronounce it as. So symptom is obesity, okay, hyperglycemia, so that is higher blood sugar will be there, osteoporosis, like weaker bone you can find, weakness, and salt and water retention. So all these are the secretions associated with the adrenal cortex. So adrenal cortex hormones like corticoids which are there, so if they are secreted too much, you can find the Cushing syndrome. So this is basically obesity. And so let's have a look at these. So mineralocorticoids regulate what? Minerals, proteins, carbohydrate, and then so the mineralocorticoids regulate the minerals. Okay, and other than that, hyposecretion of adrenal cortex does what? Hyposecretion of adrenal cortex. So this causes what? Hypo they are asking, not the hyper. Anyone? Hyposecretion is less secretion. Hypersecretion when we mention, like there is too much secretion of this adrenal cortex is seen. So as you can see in this one, okay, so hyposecretion is causing Addison's disease, okay, and hypersecretion is causing what? It is causing the Cushing syndrome. So Cushing syndrome associated obesity, there is higher blood sugar you can find, but in hyposecretion low blood sugar, so it is a reverse you can find, so there is a loss of weight also. Okay, so let's have a look at this. So hyposecretion of adrenal cortex, so this causes Addison's disease, right? So it is a Addison's disease. So hypersecretion, Cushing syndrome. So don't get confused between these. So this one is for hyper. Okay. Okay, so we have come to the end of this session. So any of you are having any doubts? So do you guys have any doubts for today's session? In today's session? Yes, so this is about the adrenal gland. Okay, so adrenal gland, we just studied about adrenal hormones, so that is adrenaline and some of the corticoids. So the adrenal medulla produces the hormone adrenaline, and the adrenal cortex produces corticoid, so that is mineralocorticoid and glucocorticoid. So mineralocorticoid is responsible for mineral metabolism, so glucocorticoid is responsible for metabolism associated with proteins, fats, as well as carbohydrates. So if we are talking about the adrenaline, which is produced by the adrenal medulla, so you can find the adrenaline hormone is responsible as such. One second. Yeah, so adrenaline hormone, we call this as the emergency hormone. So this is like making your body ready for fight or flight, so that is facing the danger or otherwise at least you are running away from the danger. So for both of these, energy is required. So there are a lot of other changes which are going to occur when there is a lot of adrenaline production occurs. So there is a increased blood supply, so there is an increased supply of oxygen and glucose. So with that, so there is much more cellular respiration occurring, and there is a lot of ATP synthesis that occurs. So extra energy supply is done by this adrenaline hormone. Okay, so adrenaline hormone can also be called as what? So it can also be called as epinephrine or noradrenaline. So these you need to remember. Okay, alright, so any of you guys have any doubts, you can just search me on Telegram. So that is Vani Kari ICSE class 9 and 10 biology. Okay, and so you can also subscribe to our new channel, so that is ICSE and ISC Masters. Click on bell icon to get notified about these sessions. Like and share the video, and if you need this PDF, yes, you can ping me on my Telegram. So you can just search it as Vani Kari ICSE class 9 and 10 biology on Telegram. So you'll find my channel. Okay, alright then, so see you all in the next session. Bye bye everyone, take care, thank you.